So many of you being interested in the things I talk about have probably seen the Annabelle movies before. And if you have, you might be aware that in the movies, this demon attached to the doll is known as Malthus. But who is Malthus? Is this a real demon or one made for the film? Well, to answer the latter question, the demon Malthus from the Annabelle movies is indeed a real demon. Well, I say real, but I guess that depends on your beliefs. What I really mean is that, yes, Malthus is a demon documented in occult literature outside of the Conjuring franchise. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you everything we know about him. Just to be clear, this is not a video discussing the fictional lore from the Annabelle movies, nor is this a video discussing the true story of the real-life Annabelle doll, as Malthus is not actually associated with it outside of the films. That is a story we can cover another time though. Look, I already made a thumbnail. But no, today we have one simple goal. Who is the real Malthus? Where did the Annabelle filmmakers get this name? Let's talk about it. Would it be more suitable if I pulled this out? I'll let her rest there, even though this video really has nothing to do with Annabelle. She's good clickbait, I'll give her that. Okay, so before we talk about who Malthus is, we need to first pinpoint the earliest mention of this demon. It should be noted that Malthus, like every other demon, has multiple variations of his name due to the many different translations of it throughout the history of occult literature. He goes by Malthus, sometimes spelt with an A, sometimes with a U, sometimes with an OU, but primarily and originally, this demon is actually called Halphas, hence the title of this video that you may have thought was an error up until now. Not to be confused with the crow demon Malthus, who is in fact a different demon. Anyways, I'll be referring to Malthus as Halphas for the remainder of this video. So, where can we find the first known mention of Halphas? Well, many would probably point to the 17th century grimoire The Lesser Key of Solomon and its infamous list of the 72 demons said to have been sealed by King Solomon, the Ars Goetia. But I would actually like to bring your attention first to a text that predates the Ars Goetia. In fact, it is believed to have been the inspiration for it. The text is known as Pseudomonarchia Daemonum, or the False Monarchy of Demons, written by Dutch physician and occultist Johann Weyer. This book, much like other Goetic grimoires, contains the names and characteristics of demons. Unlike the Ars Goetia, however, the list in Pseudomonarchia Daemonum only contains 69 demons as opposed to 72. And the list differs in a few areas, with the demons appearing in a different order, some with different characteristics, and one demon, Proofless, that does not even appear in the Ars Goetia. Now, this book actually isn't the oldest list of demons, because its source is noted by Weyer to be an even older manuscript called Liber Officiorum Spiritum, or the Book of the Office of Spirits, which is ultimately an expansion of a 15th century French grimoire known as Livre des Esprits, or simply the Book of Spirits. Pardon my pronunciations, I do not speak French or Latin. Anyways, the Book of Spirits contains concepts and traditions that date back even farther to at least the 13th century. In this book, there is a list containing only 46 demons. So it seems that every time someone decided to make their own Goetic grimoire, the list of demons evolved and grew until eventually we ended up with the Ars Goetia, which now seems to be the only one people talk about. However, anything prior to Johann Weyer's Pseudomonarchia Daemonum is irrelevant to us today, because the demon Halphas, for whatever reason, does not appear in any grimoire predating that one. Let's take a look at what it says. In Pseudomonarchia Daemonum, Halphas is listed as the 42nd demon, and his description is actually quite short. It is as follows. Halphas is a great earl, and cometh abroad like a stork, with a hoarse voice. He notably buildeth up towns full of munition and weapons. He sendeth men of war to places appointed, and he hath under him 26 legions. So in this short paragraph, we are told that Halphas holds the rank of Earl, which is actually the second lowest rank a Goetic demon can have, only coming above the rank of Knight. And of course the unranked lesser demons. We are also told that he appears in the form of a stork, on screen now if you're unfamiliar with the bird, and he speaks in a hoarse voice, which isn't at all unique to Halphas, as many Goetic demons are described as speaking with a hoarse voice. I suppose demons aren't too familiar with cough drops. Now, as with most demons, Halphas has somewhat of a specialty, and that is to build up towns with munitions and weapons, and to send men to war. It's difficult to really understand what this means in a literal sense, but demons in the Bible are well known as manipulators and unclean spirits that influence the minds of men. So in that context, we could assume that Halphas's main form of manipulation and temptation is convincing men to increase their production of arms and ultimately to go to war. Basically, when Halphas isn't busy bothering people with dolls, he is a warmongering arms dealer. And the last thing said of Halphas in Johann Weyer's text is that he has under his command 26 legions of demons. Now, we have talked about demons having legions of other demons under their command before, but we haven't yet discussed how many demons are in a legion. So to understand just how many lesser demons Halphas commands, we first need to determine that. Some people theorize that a demonic legion is based on the legions of the Roman Empire, which had anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 men, depending on a variety of factors. Luckily, however, we don't have to guess at this number at all, because Johann Weyer provides the answer for us in Pseudomonarchia Daemonum, claiming that there are 6,666 demons in a legion. So let's do the math. Halphas commands 26 legions. 26 times 6,666 is 173,316 demons, which sounds like a lot, and I guess it is, but it's really quite small in comparison to many of his colleagues. In fact, there are only 5 demons in the Ars Goetia with smaller legion counts than Halphas. Anyways, that's really the only information we get in Pseudomonarchia Daemonum on Halphas. So now, let's briefly take a look at the Ars Goetia and see what it says. So as I explained, the Ars Goetia is a list of 72 demons, said to have been sealed by King Solomon. This list is located in one of the most famous occult grimoires, the Lesser Key of Solomon. Actually, to be clear, even the demons in Pseudomonarchia Daemonum are supposed to be the ones sealed by King Solomon. And I do want to talk about that for a minute because it sort of makes it part of Halphas's history. I don't want to get into the full story of King Solomon because I've already explained it in I think 2 videos now, but the super abbreviated version is that King Solomon, an ancient king of Israel, was said to have been gifted the power to control demons by God. The supposed first-hand account of this story is in a text called the Testament of Solomon, in which King Solomon conducts a series of interviews with various demons to learn about their nature. So I suppose it's worth noting that while Halphas isn't directly mentioned in the Testament of Solomon, if we are to believe the story behind the Ars Goetia and other Solomonic texts containing lists of demons, then Halphas would have been one of the demons Solomon sealed and questioned. If you want to hear more about King Solomon, I would suggest taking a look at my Occult Demonology guide. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's take a look at Halphas according to the Ars Goetia. In the Ars Goetia, Halphas is the 38th demon as opposed to the 42nd in Pseudomonarchia Daemonum, and his description is as follows. The 38th spirit is Halphas, or Malthus. He is a great earl, and appeareth in the form of a stock dove. He speaketh in a hoarse voice. His office is to build up towers and furnish them with ammunition and weapons, and to send men of war to places appointed. He ruleth over 26 legions of spirits, and his seal is this. So this description is pretty much the same as the one in Pseudomonarchia Daemonum. However, you may have noticed that this time it says he appears as a stock dove instead of a stork, which is an entirely different bird. It's possible that stock dove is simply a translation error from stork, but at this point we don't know. So Halphas appears as either a stock dove or a stork. Aside from that, the Ars Goetia provides us with the seal of Halphas, on screen now, which if you've watched my other videos you'd know is quite important in Solomonic magic for controlling the demon. Now, I wish I had more information to give you, but a short paragraph in a couple of grimoires is all we really have on Halphas. And beyond that, it's not really clear what his origins are, if he has any. It should be noted, as I've mentioned in previous videos, that the origin of many demons can be traced back to pagan gods and goddesses that were demonized by the Christian Church. In some cases, we are easily able to directly link a pagan deity to a demon, like for example with Astaroth being Astarte. Unfortunately, however, Halphas has no obvious pagan counterpart, so it's difficult to say how this demon came to be. We can, however, field some educated guesses based on some of Halphas's qualities just for the fun of it. I think the most obvious answer here, because Halphas appears as a stork, would be that his origins are with the Greek goddess Hera. Hera is one of the Olympians in the Greek pantheon, and is the goddess of women, marriage, martial harmony, and childbirth. The stork, to the ancient Greeks, was connected to fertility and motherliness through the goddess Hera. I'm sure some of you may have seen some variation of a stork delivering babies in some movie or illustration. This actually stems from a Greek myth in which Hera, jealous or angry with a beautiful queen named Grana, transformed her into a stork. This queen was then determined to retrieve her baby son, and the image of Grana as a stork carrying her baby in her beak is where this connection to storks and babies stems from. This is a connection that carried over into Slavic and Germanic folklore as well, and so I would say that it's possible that the stork being the appearance of the demon Halphas could mean that Halphas is the demonized Hera. It helps also that the names both start with an H. It's worth noting that Hera's counterpart in the Roman pantheon is Juno. Among the Egyptian gods, Hera is Hathor. In Zoroastrianism, she can be connected to Armite. And in Etruscan religion, she would be Uni. Another option is a figure from pre-Christian Germanic paganism known as Frau Hull, also known as Hulda, Holda, Holla, and Perchta, among other names. Hulda is a goddess who, among various other things, is the goddess whom children that die as infants go to, and the stork is known as one of her heralds. Again, another connection to children, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, because if the writers behind Annabelle by some chance also came to the conclusion that Halphas was either of these goddesses connected to children or taking children, the plot of him being attached to a child's doll and going after the soul of the baby in the film starts to look a lot more well thought out, even beyond the whole untainted soul thing. It's also worth noting that Hulda to the Christians at one point became synonymous with the goddess Diana, which I spoke about in my occult demonology guide. Diana is the goddess of childbirth, fertility, and hunting in Roman and Hellenistic religion, and is actually the counterpart of the Greek god Artemis, not Hera. Anyways, if we dive too deep into all of these deities, we are going to lose the plot here, but it's worth reminding you that the goddess Diana was associated by the Christians with witchcraft. More on that in my occult demonology guide. Excuse me, my friend is asking me about what he should order at Mary Brown's. I've got to answer him. It's the Buffalo Mary, by the way. It's the best sandwich they have. No blue cheese. Now, I did not look too far into deities connected to stock doves because not only do I assume that to be an error, but also when you look it up, you're going to get a lot of info on regular doves in mythology, and sorting through all that would be hell. Now, besides appearing as a stork, the other aspect of Halphas would be his connection to war. Obviously, there are a lot of different gods of war, and we aren't going to just list them all and say that they could be Halphas. But remember when I said that the Egyptian equivalent of Hera was Hathor? Well, Hathor is actually the mother and consort of the Egyptian sky god Horus, who, among other things, is a god of war. So there is some connection there. The Roman counterpart of Hera, Juno, is also a goddess related to war and is the mother of Bellona and Mars, who are also deities of war. Even Hera herself takes on a warlike aspect when she battles against the goddess Artemis. So honestly, I think my best guess as to who Halphas might be a demonized version of would have to be Hera, both because of her connections to war and storks. But again, these are just my guesses based on what we know. It seems rather impossible at this point to actually trace the origins of this demon farther back than Johann Weyer's Pseudomonarchia Daemonum. I only took a stab at it for your entertainment. And I hope it was entertaining because that's all we have. If you enjoyed this little deep dive on Halphas, please let me know in the comments what other demons you would like to see individual videos on. Obviously, you don't have to worry about the Conjuring's other demonic presence, Valak, whose face is always peeking out from behind me here and creeping some of you out, as some comments have mentioned. I'll be covering him next, but let me know if there is any other specific demons that you would like me to talk about. If you're still watching at this point, I would assume you like my content, so I would like to remind you that currently, the best way to show your support for what I do is to go to the link in the description and vote for me once per day to be this year's Face of Horror. With your support, I was able to win the first group stage, but now we are in the second group stage with all the winners from the first groups, and the votes have been reset, which means the competition is tougher and I need your help now more than ever. Voting once a day is completely free, but if you are feeling generous, you can donate for more votes. If you would like to help me out big time and donate, I would recommend waiting for a day that says the votes are 2 for 1. These days occur every couple days or so in the competition, and it will double your votes. Either way though, I appreciate every vote I get, and I also really appreciate all the support on the channel so far. I will be going on a little vacation next week, so I will be gone for a little bit, but when I get back, you can expect more videos. See you then, and good night. Say goodbye, Annabelle. Goodbye.